Hello everyone, welcome to another video. So it's been a long time since I've posted, over a year in fact, so I'm now much older, much fatter, but I am still the same person, so possibly making a return. I have purchased this computer off of eBay for £30. It's running Windows 7, has a Core i5 2nd gen in it, and we're going to see if we can use it in 2024. Probably not for gaming, but we'll see what other things that it's capable of, and if Windows 7 is still a usable experience. So I was having a look through eBay and I came across this on auction. It is a HP Compaq Elite 8200 Ultra Slim Desktop PC. That was what it was advertised as, and I got it for its starting bid of £30 exactly, excluding shipping. Specifications wise, this has an Intel Core i5 2500S, which has a clock of 2.7 GHz, has 8GB of DDR3 RAM, it's got a 128GB SSD, and it is now running Windows 7 Professional. And as a side note, it didn't come with the tape holding it together. That was something that I did. I took the side panel off and ended up breaking the front panel off, so I've had to tape it back on. Not the seller's fault whatsoever. So originally the computer came pre-installed with Windows 7 Ultimate. The first thing I did was get rid of that. For one, I don't want a pre-installed system that could contain malware on it, and also for some reason it didn't want to update. No matter what I did, it would not get any updates installed. It had about 50 updates to do before the last Windows 7 update. It wouldn't download a single one. I tried many troubleshooting techniques, none of them worked, so I thought, okay, best thing to do, reinstall with Windows 7 Professional, and I've done that. It's worked. It's now on the last Windows 7 update, which came out in 2020. I believe there was an extension. This does not have it. You may be thinking, okay, you reinstalled Windows, why didn't you reinstall Windows 10? It's much more usable than Windows 7 because it's receiving updates and is supported by pretty much everything. The reason for that is I don't want to use Windows 10 on this. I want to use it with Windows 7 because that's what this computer would have originally had. I want to test it with Windows 7, see what Windows 7 is still capable of, as well as a little bit of nostalgia there. And if anybody's got a problem with that, fuck you. The next video will be this computer running Windows XP, and if you still don't like that, it will be Windows 95. I could give a shit about your opinion. So we're going to take a look at some games now that a computer like this should be able to play with no issues. First game that I tested was Roblox, and it was this obby here because it's one of the most simple games you can find on Roblox. Now, in theory, this computer should have absolutely no problem running Roblox and any of the games on Roblox, as its minimum requirement is a computer newer than 2005, a clock speed of 1.6 GHz or better, and 1GB of RAM. This is a load of shit because that is definitely not the minimum spec for Roblox anymore. This game is running at lowest settings, 900p, and we averaged 54 FPS with a minimum of 37 and a max of 62. However, this changes very quickly when we have a look at some other games in Roblox. Moving on to a slightly more graphically demanding game on Roblox, although still not the most graphically demanding game, we're on Phantom Forces. I do have to note that the video that you are watching on screen right now was not recorded on the HP PC, it was recorded on my own personal computer, and that is because while recording I was unable to record anything. It was about 2 or 3 FPS, it was not usable footage, so I've had to do it on my computer. Without recording, we averaged 23 FPS, a minimum of 15 FPS, and a maximum of 40 FPS, although I must note that it was very stuttery, and especially at lowest settings, at 900p, I did not consider it a playable experience whatsoever, and there are other games on Roblox now which are much more graphically demanding than this. This is what I mean by the minimum specifications for Roblox is now very outdated and untrue. Going on to a Steam game now, I tested Shooty Skies, one with anti-aliasing on and one with it off. First benchmark was with it off, and I averaged 71.2 FPS, a minimum of 36 FPS and a maximum of 76 FPS. So overall it was actually quite a playable experience, and even with 4 times AA we had 37.6 FPS average, a 34 minimum and a maximum of 46, so both results very playable, but as you can see, not a very graphically demanding game. This is a mobile game pretty much, so no surprises here, but at least it can play some very small games. Another game that I benchmarked was Team Fortress 2, though I didn't get any footage of it. We averaged 38 FPS, but our minimums were at 11 FPS, and the maximum was at 79 FPS, which meant that the experience was very stuttery. There was also a lot of screen tearing, artifacts, and this was at 900p, the lowest settings possible. I didn't consider it a playable experience, although some may disagree. If they're used to stuttering, I'm not interested in a game that's stuttering. As you can see, the gaming experience is unusable. That doesn't mean that the computer itself is unusable though, and that we can't do YouTube, web browsing, online shopping. There are many things that this computer is very capable of doing. Gaming just is not one of them. In fact, if we have a look at the Windows User Experience Index, which is 5.1 at its lowest, and at its highest at 7.6, that's nothing bad at all. Windows 7 considers this computer a more than capable machine of Windows Aero, web browsing, and other day-to-day tasks. It just doesn't think that the gaming performance is that good. Our graphics performance is only 5.1, which is okay. It's not the worst. It's better than being 4, 3, 2 or 1, but for gaming, unusable. So now to test streaming. Can it run in HD or 4K? Let's have a look. So it's automatically selected 1440p at 60 FPS. Any buffering or stuttering will not be internet related, as we have a high-speed wired Ethernet connection. So let's begin the testing and see, will it run smoothly? So 1440p looks plenty smooth to me. Now let's test out 4K. So we are getting a little bit of stuttering and buffering here, so it would look like the limit for smooth playback is 1440p. That is still very impressive considering the computer only cost £30. So I've been using the computer now for a while, and I can say that it's been completely smooth while doing web browsing, studying, emails, streaming services such as YouTube, Spotify, Netflix, as well as social media, but a lot of platforms such as Discord have dropped support now for Windows 7. The day of recording this video actually is the last day of support for Windows 7 and Steam. So with a lot of companies now dropping support for Windows 7, it's not going to be a very long time now until the operating system becomes an issue in terms of compatibility with other software. So although the actual experience of Windows 7 is still usable, it's not going to be long until it's an unusable experience. That also brings us on to the fact that security updates for Windows 7 have been discontinued, which is why day-to-day tasks such as online banking may be a no-go for a system like this. The good news is though, Windows 7 is not the only operating system that will run on a computer like this. There would be no real issue with upgrading this computer to Windows 10. You would still get a usable experience out of it. I don't think that Windows 10 would be as snappy as Windows 7 is at the moment on this computer, with it being newer and having higher hardware requirements. Windows 11 I don't think would work on this computer. I don't think it would be very usable. But Windows 10, if you wanted to stick to Windows, would be a great choice. But I think an even better choice, if you're not too bothered about not being able to run exe files out of the box, would be Linux. Some of my favourite distributions of Linux has been Ubuntu, Zorin OS. There's many more distributions, some heavier than others. Obviously the lighter the less features, but then the snappier the experience. There's so much to choose from when it comes to Linux. It's definitely worth playing around with, and even just experimenting with different distributions on older hardware like this can be a fantastic thing to do. So, is this computer a waste of £30, or is it a somewhat decent computer that I'll be looking to keep? I think that this is a decent computer and I'll be looking to keep it and upgrade it to either Windows 10 or a version of Linux. I'm gonna experiment with both and see what the best use for this will be. I personally think that the best use for this computer is going to be as a streaming device on an operating system that will support all streaming services, maybe even try and get Chrome OS on it and use it as a streaming device for the TV in my room. I feel like I just need to clarify as well about what I mean when I say this was an unusable gaming experience. I'm well aware that some games from the 90s, some PS1 games and some really old or basic games will be able to run just fine on this computer, but that is a given. I'm talking about games that some people might actually want to play on a system like this, like Roblox, a game that a lot of people do play, regardless of the debate, is it a kid's game, is it not? It's a game a lot of people play and might want to play on a system like this. You can't, really. A game like Minecraft might be able to play on this on lowest settings, but honestly I can't imagine it being a very good experience. Shooty Skies is just a kind of mobile game, and that's me demonstrating the lightest sort of game that you might be able to play on this and get a very good experience out of, which was a very usable experience. And then Team Fortress 2, although it being old, is still popular. So if there's any confusion of why I've picked games like that, there it is. So I'm going to end the rambling there because I think I'm going to start repeating myself over and over if I carry on with this. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know what you thought of it in the comments, and I'm going to go get myself lovely cup of tea in my nice fancy Le Creuset mug, and I'll see you in the next one hopefully.